Hello and welcome to The Lifted Lens, the podcast, where strategy meets soul, helping motherhood and family photographers build a business that fits their life, not the other way around. So today I wanted to talk about manifestation for photographers, but without the cringe, because I feel like when people hear the word manifestation, they either think about vision boards, journaling, lighting all the candles, or they just think it's about just think positive all the time and money will appear. And honestly, I don't fully resonate with either of those kind of extremes, because for me, manifestation has never been about just wishing. It's about embodying and deciding who it is that I want to become. And starting to live like her before I have the evidence. If I had to explain manifestation in a really grounded way, then I would say it's knowing where you're going and letting yourself believe that it is possible, and then making your decisions from that place over and over again. So not from fear, not from what if this doesn't work, what if I fail, but it's from this is where I want to go. And how would I show up if I was already there, if that makes sense? So it's behaving like the future you now and just making the actual actionable steps to get there. I actually think manifestation isn't about wanting something, but it's about feeling safe having it. So feeling safe being visible, earning the money that you want, being fully booked, about being known for what you do. Because if part of you doesn't feel safe having those things, then you will just push them away without realising it. I have done this so many times. The biggest shift for me was stopping asking, how do I get there? How do I get to where I want to be? And actually trying to embody that person before I'm even ready to be that person. But how would she think? How would she talk about her work? How would she price? How would she sell? How would she show up online? So not pretending. It's not, people would say it's sort of like faking confidence, but I think it's just practicing being that version of me until it just started to feel normal and started to feel like who I actually am. It's having that sort of fake it till you make it kind of mentality, but in a more of a feeling spiritual way. Sort of telling yourself that you have that confidence. Eventually, if you tell yourself enough times that you have that confidence, then you will start to feel it. I'm a really visual person, so how I use manifestation in my life is actually using things like vision boards, but in a really kind of practical, everyday way. So I use vision boards as screensavers on my phone. I use something like Pinterest to put something together, or affirmations I save as screensavers on my phone. So it's not about making a vision board in January, putting it on your wall and just kind of forgetting about it and never looking at it again. I think the more that you have it in front of you, and I feel like a screensaver is brilliant. I know it was Jess Collins, the feral writer, who said about this in her ebook Manifested, which is fantastic if you want to sort of read a little bit more about this and the mentality behind it all. I absolutely loved her ebook. And yeah, so she talked about using screensavers, and it works so well for me. So it's in front of my face constantly, and it's sort of normalizing the life and the business that I'm building and the things that I am dreaming for. So I use them, as screensavers on my phone, maybe desktop on my background. I will screenshot things on my phone a lot, something that gives me a feeling or something that I really resonate with, and I have a folder which is called screensavers, and often I'll just go back and relook at those things and just kind of see what I'm aligned with, what I'm not aligned with, delete or add to as I need to. Yeah, so your brain, I think it needs that repetition, so it needs to start seeing those things as normal, expected and safe. So the more you see them, the more they become just a normal reality. So one way this actually worked for me really well in real life was when I wanted to sell my house, and I literally put on my screensaver some text saying, "Yay, you've sold the house!" Exclamation mark, exclamation mark. So I didn't put on there like, "Oh, I hope you sell the house," or maybe if we're lucky, but it's done. It's happened, and yeah, this is where we're going. So I could really focus on that positive end point. And it sounds like a really silly small thing, but when you see something like that, like however many times you open your phone, 50 times a day, I imagine, you start to believe it and you start to expect that reality, and then you make decisions from that place. So I want to talk a little bit about affirmations. I really struggle with affirmations. My brain does kind of reject anything that's too out there. So I like to try and focus on ones that they feel like a bit of a stretch, but it's still believable. So something like, people value what I do. I am building a profitable, sustainable business. I can be a present mum and run a successful business. I am allowed to be successful. That's one that I love because it's kind of speaks to that fear of success that I often have show up. So that one works really well. So another way that this can show up in my business was when I started doing the mentoring and education side of my business. I genuinely thought, who am I to teach anyone? And I spoke about this when I talked about imposter syndrome. So using manifestation, I shifted to, if I was someone who helps photographers grow, how would I show up? And I started to share more, talk more openly, backing myself more, and embodying that person who is already helping other photographers. So another way that I have used manifestation in my business is with launching my mini sessions. So when I first started running minis a few years back, I would go into a mini session launch with like a kind of hopeful energy. And I would sort of over explain the offer and what's included. And then I would just kind of sit back and wait to see if people wanted it, sort of in this sort of hopeful, like, please book me kind of energy. So now I come into launching minis with more of a confident vibe, and I'll come in with a really clear offer. I'll build up the excitement to the mini launch beforehand. It's really clear what's included. I have like a calm confidence and an assumption that people are going to want to book these, because people do. At the end of the day, if they're on your email list, they're already in your circle. So if they're following you, that means that they are already interested, and they're sort of warm leads. And I really think people can feel that confidence and they vibe off of that and the excitement. And yeah, it just really helps to kind of to sell, because I think belief changes behaviour, and then behaviour changes the results. So if you believe, I'm really lucky if people book me, then you'll hide, you'll underprice, you'll apologise for selling, you'll over-explain. But if you believe that I run a sought-after business and people want to book me, then you will show up differently and people will respond to that. So I want you to think about this. What do you want in your business right now that you don't sort of fully let yourself believe is actually possible? And if it was inevitable that you would be successful, how would you show up this month? I don't feel confident all the time. I still have wobbles most days, but I trust myself more now, and I trust myself that I will figure things out. I trust that the life and the business that I want is available to me, and that really changes everything. If manifestation feels really cringy, then I would suggest to try and think about it as more of a practice. So practicing being the version of you that you're becoming before you have all of the proof that it is possible and before it feels normal, because one day it actually will be. So I want this to be a little reminder that you don't manifest a life and a business that you want just by wishing harder. You build it by becoming the person who naturally creates those results. So by making the decisions where you're going, not from where you've been, and by trusting yourself even before you feel completely ready. So if you keep making those little steps towards being and embodying that version of you that you are really hoping to one day be, yeah, she'll become a reality, and she gets a little bit closer every time that you actually just choose to believe that you are capable of becoming her, because you completely are. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I hope that you can start thinking about manifesting in your business or in your life and start to use some of these tools to help you. I absolutely love talking about anything to do with manifesting because I truly do believe it works. If you have any questions, then you can message me on Instagram I'm at Sophie Bowdler Photography or at The Lifted Lens on Instagram. So yeah, please send me a message and I would love to chat more. So thank you so much for listening, and I really appreciate you giving me your time.